Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. It is late night here on Sunday, getting ahead of 12 games in the NBA on Monday. I'm going to be running through some leans that I have early on here, as well as a few best bets that I've already gotten in for you guys on Sunday night ahead of that Monday slate. So make sure that you are following along, subscribe to that page, and continue to check out each and every one of these videos. I'm bringing you a couple a day here with, like I said, these leans the night before, get right into these best bets as well. So let's take a look at what we are looking at here. Like I said, 12 games on Monday after only 5 on Sunday. We've got Memphis, OKC, Orlando, Phoenix, and Portland all on a back-to-back here on Monday night. And then there's going to be 5 teams that are playing 2 in a row Monday into Tuesday as well. And those teams playing on Tuesday are going to be Boston, the Lakers, the Knicks, the 76ers, and the Utah Jazz. There, as you can see, all 5 of those teams going to be playing Monday, but then also have a look-ahead game on Tuesday. Want to make sure that you know what the next games on the schedule are in case some guys might be sat, some guys might see fewer minutes, etc. So another reminder that there will be a second video tomorrow with the final best bets. So there's about 4 or 5 leans in here that I'm going to turn into bets if I like them come tomorrow morning after we see a little bit more of the injury report here. I'll show you guys that injury report here as well, but make sure that you are subscribed so you can continue to follow along with each and every one of these videos. Taking a look quickly at the key injuries. Zubac is still out for the Clips. Darius Garland's still out, but Evan Mobley is questionable, which is an upgrade for him from the out that he's been listed as on all of these injury reports for the Cavs up until now. Julius Randle is going to be out as well. Looks like he had some issues with his shoulder and is going to need some time, so he'll be out in this one. Mitchell Robinson is still out as well, as we know. LaMelo Ball is going to be questionable for the Charlotte Hornets as they take on those Knickerbockers. And Gordon Hayward's out. Mark Williams, the starting center, is also out for the Charlotte Hornets. Kristaps is going to be questionable. Al Horford's questionable, and Luke Cornett is doubtful, as you can see there for the Celtics. So that's a big deal because if the Celtics don't have all 3 of those dudes, they have nobody down low. We're talking Jason Tatum at center, O'Shea Brissett maybe at power forward with Jaylen Brown in there as well. So that's going to be their lineup in a pretty decent game against the Pelicans, who will be at full strength and have a pretty decent front court that could handle anybody if all 3 of those dudes for the Celtics are out. So keep an eye on that. Dorian Finney-Smith is out for the Nets. I do think that's a big deal, but even bigger deal potentially is that Ben Simmons is back. He is probable to play in this Nets game on Monday. Interestingly enough, we'll see how he does there. And per usual, Anthony Davis and LeBron James are questionable for the Lakers. Not really even sure what that means. It could mean that LeBron might sit, but they should both play after that double overtime game on Saturday. That was a thriller, and we won a bunch of units off of that. We'll be talking about that pretty soon as well and how much we did there. Just up about half a unit on Saturday rather, but we'll talk about the week and the month stuff here on Monday in the second video, just so you can see exactly how I've done. I'll throw that stuff in at the end with the records and all that stuff. Tari Eason is out for the Houston Rockets. And then a couple more things here. Zach Collins is questionable. Markelle Fultz for the Magic is questionable. Gary Harris is out for the Magic. Kyrie Irving is out for the Mavs, and Dante Exum is questionable. So we're going to see a lot of Luka Doncic, per usual. Derrick Jones Jr. and Dwight Powell also questionable here for the Mavericks, who just have had so many injury bad luck this season. Joel is questionable. Tobias Harris is questionable. Tyrese Maxey is questionable. And D'Anthony Melton is out for the 76ers in their game against the Blazers. They've got a back-to-back, too, where they're going to go from the Blazers to the Warriors. I don't know why too many of those guys would play against Portland. So keep an eye on that one for Philadelphia, because it might be worth it to hit Portland at like plus 10 if you can get it with playing the 76ers backups. But I still would take 76ers to win that game. So if that spread drops from -9 for the 76ers, I'm actually looking at taking them sort of a stars out, bets up kind of situation, where if like all 3 of their best players aren't playing, guys coming in off the bench are still going to have a pride to beat the Portland Trailblazers, and assume that just because they're the backups on the 76ers doesn't mean that they're not better than the starters for the Portland Trailblazers. So we'll see how that one goes, but let's get into these games here, y'all. So the first one up here, I'm going to be looking at about 5 games in this one with a couple of best bets and then some leans from these games. But like I said, I'll have those final best bets on the docket tomorrow for you in that video. And any of the games that I can't get to in this one, if guys are finally healthy and we can see them tomorrow, then I'll get into that as well. All right. Talking about the Clippers, -2.5 at the Cavs, 225.5 on the total there. And the couple of things that I'm looking at here in this one are how well the Cavs are playing in general, or excuse me, the Clippers are playing in general. But both of these teams, I mean, they're both basically top 3 teams in the league over the last 15 games, which is wild. And that's basically when the Clippers got their trade going so that they have James Harden. The Cavs, a little more than 15 games ago, lost Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. So all these numbers here that I'm looking at for these two teams are over the last 15 games and not just the whole season, because their seasons have been split basically in half between when, for the Cavs, when Garland and Mobley have played, and when the Clippers have had James Harden. With James Harden, they're just a beast, man. They are an absolute wrecking ball right now. They are on the road, even they're scoring 117, only giving up 111 there, playing a bit slower. So that this total is a bit down at 225.5. That is, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with an over on that. To be honest with you, I still lean under in the 225.5. This is going to be right around that total. So I'm not really looking at the total in this one. I am just looking at the Clippers against this Cavs team, just because of the fact that they can play slow, they can play fast. Even without Zubac, they have been a problem for centers, which is wild to consider that they actually are still a top 10 team limiting centers without their best player in terms of down low and without Zubac in the game there. So that is why my, if I'll finish it up here. With the injuries, you can see the recent matchup is nothing. There's nothing really much there because Kawhi didn't play in any of the games they played last year. So I am just going to run right into that lean. I do think the Clippers -2 is still a good bet. They are in the midst of a 7-game East Coast road trip, and they just won the first 2, beating Toronto and the Celtics in Boston handily. Beat both of those teams, and I still feel really good about the way James Harden is passing the ball against the Cavs. Look, you can score predominantly from outside against the Cavs, but the mid-range is going to be there for Kawhi and for Paul George. And James Harden should have some good success getting assists, even though the Cavs limit them. Like, I still think that James Harden's style of play is there's not going to be anybody that can really handle him. So we're going to go with -2 on the lean there. Check back in the comments and everything tomorrow, like I said, so that you can make sure you are getting that final bet on this one. The second game I'm looking at here, the Pellies are in Boston, and there's no injuries for the Pels. But like we said at the beginning here, the Boston injuries are piling up in the front court. If they don't have all 3 of those dudes there, Luke Kornet's doubtful, by the way, and Kristaps and Al Horford are questionable. If they don't have all those guys, that's going to be a problem with Zion and Joval coming into the game. Zion missed both games against this team last year. Ingram played in one of them. Boston won both of them, and they scored a lot more points than this Pellies team did. But if the Pellies are going to have their front court and the Celtics aren't, that 112 for New Orleans is probably going to be a lot more. If you want to see a little bit how they've done recently, for the Pels over their last 10 games, 122 points per game, giving up 117. And in the 6 road games they played, they're actually outscoring their opponent by 6 points, scoring 124 points a game. So I'm really looking at how on the road they've been so much better for the Pellies over those last 6, like I said, where they're really coming on, especially on the road. They've had Zion and Brandon Ingram for 4 of those 6 road games that they've played now. And I chose the 6 road games because over their last 10, they played 6 on the road, and that is when they started to play faster. They started to score a lot more points. And Boston, meanwhile, they played slower. They've scored fewer points while they've been at home as of late. If you want to look there at the Boston key stats in their last 10, that is what I'm looking at, is that their games have averaged about 228 in that time frame. So I'm not really touching the total here, but I don't know that they're going to be able to keep the Pellies to 111 the way that they've been playing, especially if they don't have that size down low. Pelly's going to be attacking the second chance points. And if Boston's not going to be the same rebounding team without their centers and big guys in, it's going to be a problem. I do think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are incredible rebounders. Obviously, Jason Tatum is probably their best rebounder at this point. His prop is at 8.5. And if all 3 of those dudes don't play, or like even 2 of them don't play, I think that 8.5 number is good for an over for Jay Tatum. It's juiced to the over right now, so that you get pretty bad odds. If you want an over on 8.5 boards, that probably goes up if at least 1, if not 2 of these guys are out for the Celtics, and those big dudes that I was just talking about. Then the Tatum rebounds might go up. I think I'd consider an 8.5 here. It is a bit of a lean, but the main lean here is the over in this one as well, as I do think that like the Pelly scoring is going to just bring everything along. If you don't have Kristaps, you don't have Al Horford, I'd rather have Kristaps in there for the scoring, but honestly, they're still just going to be playing so fast. That small ball is going to be moving the things along here, and I do think they'll give up a bunch of points to the Pellies, more so than they're normally used to at about 111 per game. The 3-pointers should be there for Boston, especially if they're playing that small ball. but they won't be able to defend the paint. So that's why we're going to go ahead and take an over as our lean here. That's the second lean that I have in this video. And then we're moving on to a game that I actually really like, and I think I'm going to be watching as much as I just don't respect the Brooklyn Nets right now. I very much so respect the Utah Jazz, who are going to be completely healthy. Brooklyn's going to be getting Ben Simmons back probably, and we've got no Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't know what to do with that because we haven't seen Sen Bimmons, as I call him, in a while now. And Utah did win this matchup at home or consistently last year. They won 125-108 at home this season as well. And that was at the end of a 5-game West Coast road trip for Brooklyn, but they still had a couple of days off. And the real thing here is like Brooklyn at home, Utah on the road does seem to indicate that there should be a few less points. But I don't know that I would really buy into that because really what we're looking at here, if you look at Utah over the last bit, they've actually scored 124 points, or excuse me, 122 points per game their last 7 games on the road. And this is a team that has stark home road splits, as you can see there on the road on the season, 113 a game versus 124 at home. And then when they get, the points allowed has been 122 on the road and 116 at home. Well, now we're looking at the last 7 where it's just been 122 at home, 122 on the road. They've won 4 of their last 7 road games. They've covered in 5 of their last 7 road games, and they've won 11 of their last 15 overall. So we need to give them the credit that they deserve, where once we were ready to bury Utah, they came storming back. And a huge part of that is Colin Sexton, as he has finally just been given the reins a bit more to the offense than he ever has. And Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, sometimes starting, but mostly coming off the bench. He's another good matchup in this one, but I really like Colin Sexton against the Nets for a couple of reasons that I'll talk about here in just one sec. But finishing it up with the Nets here, I mean, they've just been awful, man. I mean, you look at their last 6 games at home, 1-5 against the spread, 2-4 straight up, 108 points per game, allowing 109. But I don't trust an over, even though the Jazz have been playing so well offensively, even on the road. But I do trust the Jazz to probably handle this game. My favorite bet, though, and one that I already bet, and it is my best bet here, number 1, is Colin Sexton to go over once again, as I've been calling him Michael Jordan. Colin Sexton, Michael Jordan, or Colin Michael Jordan Sexton, however you want to reference him, but he has been bonkers lately. So we're going to take all of it, the 27.5 PRA. I will tell you that is minus 125 because it's probably going to be 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. By the time that this video is up, well, at least by the time a lot of you are seeing it early morning on the East Coast, it probably will be at 28.5 because it's minus 125 on DraftKings and continues to juice up until it probably gets to 28. I'm taking it at 27 because he's averaging 27 in the 30, or excuse me, he's averaging 22 in the 30 minutes or so that he's playing over the last 15. Really, the 30 minutes is only really over the last 5. So over the last 15, he's actually only at 26 minutes a game with 22 points or so. But last time he played Brooklyn, he played 35 minutes, and that was not that long ago, December 18th, I believe. 27 points. That was really the start of his, like, I'm here. I'm going to be the dude. You should probably play me more than 22 to 25 minutes like I've gotten. And that's why he's up to those 30. Brooklyn allows a ton of points to point guards, above the break, everything like that. They also allow a ton of points in isolation. They do not have the one-on-one defenders truly outside of Mikal Bridges to really shut guys down. That is why you see so many isolation points coming against them. For guys like Colin Sexton, that's huge. Jordan Clarkson, also another dude who's going to score a bunch of points probably in this one, but we'll see. We don't have his props up because he's still coming off the bench. And these coward books don't give us props for these backups until it's much closer to tip. But keep an eye on him for the points. I like Colin Sexton for all of it. And I do have a lean in this game, which is actually Jordan Clarkson to go under on the assists. Not necessarily the points. I think I would take over on the points if it's at about, I mean, look, we might get some love here on like 17, 18.5 because he's had some down games as of late. Should be about 19.5. That's where it's been most of the season for Jordan Clarkson for the points. Fine with that if you want to take an over on the points. I wouldn't lean under on the points for JC. I would actually lean under on the assists for him in a game where there's not going to be room for too many guards to get assists against the Brooklyn Nets, who, say what you want about their isolation defense, they actually are pretty good at switching on defense because they're just a bunch of wings that they have out there, plus Cam Thomas, who is a liability, as is Spencer Dinwiddie on defense, and just complete liabilities. But not necessarily for the assists. Like I said, they can switch for the assists. They've got length down low. They've even got length in the front court. Cam Johnson, I think, is out for this game, so that's not great, or he's at least questionable. So if he doesn't play, then not as good on defense. He's helpful in the switching and obviously the ability to guard multiple positions. But Jordan Clarkson is going to get by guys. Like I was saying about that isolation, he's actually in isolation on offense, way more than even Colin Sexton. He's at about 15% of his possessions that he's in there. He's going into the isolation is Jordan Clarkson, because he's such a great, a tough matchup for most guys with his length at like 6'6", can shoot that thing, as we know, and get to the rim. So I like him as a scorer in this game, but not an assister. So if he is at 5.5 assists, I'm going under there. 4.5, leave it alone. 5.5, I like that. All right. Let's go on to a very exciting game. And this is going to be the last game that I look at here. I also looked at the Knicks and the Hornets. I don't have a bet for that game. Julius Randle's out in that one. The Knicks should crush them, but it's almost too easy for this one, even on the road where the Knicks have been awesome. They've been awesome everywhere. Honestly, they're undefeated at home since the trade. They're awesome on the road during the trade, but that's different. I don't have anything for you, so I didn't put a graphic up. I didn't want to just go into the game without having a bet on it. All right. Bucks and Nuggets. This is awesome. Really looking forward to this one. Hopefully the Bucks come along for the ride, because I think the Nuggets are going to be taking them for a ride when the Nuggets are on offense. You look at the history between these two teams, by the way, no injuries that we should talk about other than Vlatko Čančar for the Nuggets, but he's been out for the whole season. I just wanted to say his name. Recent matchup history between these two. The home team won both games last season. Jokic missed the game when they were on the road. Won by 23 when they were at home, which is where we have this one. But the pace is also what you're looking at here. 103 pace. It was 105 in one, 104 one game, 102 the other game. So it doesn't really matter where they play. Milwaukee, Denver, they're playing at a much faster pace. And a huge part of that is that the Bucks want to play at that faster pace. Like they don't really have the half-court offense to hang with the Nuggets' half-court offense, which is the best in the league. Don't quote or don't at me on that. Like that is the best offensive the half-court offense in the league is the Denver Nuggets. And according to offensive rating, they have the third best offensive rating on in the half court, according to Cleaning the Glass. Still not worried about that number. The Nuggets, when that fully healthy, especially at home, best offense in the league. So looking at a couple other things here, like I said, at home, 120 points per game for the Nuggets, giving up 110. Points per game allowed, points per game scored on the road, 110. So it's obviously a huge difference for the Nuggets, like a very massive difference, that 10 points that they score more when they're at home. Obviously at home in this game. The Bucks here, they give up 123 on the road and score 121. They score more at home, give up a few less. So they're not a very good road team. They haven't been all season. They play a little bit faster pace at home, but pretty much, 102 pace on the road is still good for top 7 fastest pace in the league. The Nuggets, they play pretty slowly, but they play they play faster at home with that 98.3 pace versus the 96.7 that they play with on the road. So I'm going to like them to keep scoring, man. I'm just going to tell you right now, like the fast pace, the Milwaukee awful defense. It's awful against dribble handoff. That's what DHO stands for there. Milwaukee's defense bad against the dribble handoff. And that is the Nuggets in a nutshell, right? It's Jokic with the ball, either his back to the basket, which, by the way, Milwaukee, very good at post-up defense. That's why Brook Lopez is going to be in there a lot, because of his awesome post-up defense. But it doesn't really matter, because Jokic playing post-up defense is different than anybody else. Jokic is going to be playing from the foul line and from the three-point line, keeping Brook Lopez away from the basket. That's why I do like a bit more points in this game in general. I just don't know if the Bucks are going to come along for the ride. Like I said, like if they get stopped from going into transition, if they're not hitting threes and Giannis and Dame aren't doing their thing, they're a liability, man. Like this team is just, it's not it yet. Not against the champions right now, like the Nuggets, right? Like they're able to handle other teams. I do not trust the Bucks against teams like Denver right now. So that's why I do like Denver to score a lot. And if they score that many, I would imagine they're win. But if the Bucks go off on offense, which they're always capable of doing with those two dudes, you're going to be getting games from Lillard and from Giannis. There's no taking days off with those two. So they're going to bring it, and they might come with it on offense. But Denver's definitely going to have it on offense, because this Bucks team can't hang with them. They've just still proven to be so bad on defense right now. And especially, like I said, the dribble handoff, not good against the three-point line, not getting back in transition if Denver wants to run. So lots going to be open for them. But I do love Brolo. Man, I can't stop betting Brolo. I've bet him 6 times this season. I've hit him 5 of them. I just feel like I have a pretty good read on when he's going to be in there. Brolo is a guy that's going to be in there when you need down low defense, period, bar none. And that's what they need in this game, without question, right? Obviously, against Joker. My man has gone over in 10 straight, by the way. Like, Brook Lopez is hooping right now, and he's getting minutes. And he'll get minutes in this one because he's got to defend Jokic. Like I said, 34 minutes a game in his last 10. Each time he's played this team over the last 2, he's also played 30-plus minutes, 32, 34. And the rebound chances, he has actually gone down low a lot more. And you look at the teams that he's been playing, played Cleveland a bunch, played Orlando in there. A lot of teams that have good bigs that he needs to be in there to protect the rim against. And that's why he's down low more, which is why the rebound chances jump up. And he's almost at 8 boards a game, which you say for a center, you're like, not even 8 boards a game. That's not that impressive. For Brook Lopez, 8 rebounds a game is impressive. He is not a rebounding center anymore. He is much more relied upon for shooting, pulling the other team's big away from the basket. And he'll probably do that on offense, to be honest. Like, he'll pull Jokic away. Not that they're worried about Jokic. Like, if anything, you want to attack him and getting him in foul trouble. So maybe Brook is down low a bit more, but on offense, he will be pulling him away from the basket. He also is always a deadly three-point shooter, but the minutes are there. The minutes will be there in a game he has to defend. And I do think that the stats will rack up for him as well because he's been racking them up. And this is another good matchup where Jokic isn't scaring me on defense as good as he's been. He's been better than he normally would be, but this is still a good matchup for Brook. So we're going to go with him to get the PRA here. Let's take a quick look, as that's all the time I got for you, at the summary of what we're looking at here. So the 2 bets I do have in are Colin Sexton over 27.5 PRA. I got Brook Lopez in at over 18.5 PRA. And then I'm looking at Jordan Clarkson. I want to see if he comes out at 5.5 assists tomorrow when his props come out. And if they do, I'm going under. And then I like the Clippers at -2. That has been wavering at -1.5, -2. It's going to sort of just hover there. I haven't bet that yet. I will let you know in the comments of this video, as well as the second video that I'm going to have tomorrow, what I'm doing with the Clips there. Same with the lean on the over for the Pellies and the Celtics. I want to know who's in for those big dudes for the Celtics. I doubt that all of them play. We know Cornette's almost definitely not playing. So if one of Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis don't play, then advantage a bit more for the Pellies, but definitely advantage to the over and the pace. And then the last one here, we like Denver to go over their team total in that Milwaukee and Denver game. I do think Denver's likely going to win that game and probably win it by 4.5. But the variance with the shooting for Milwaukee is just there in a way that I don't really want to mess with it. So I'm just going to take that Denver team total most likely in the morning once I know a little bit more about that one as well. So like I said, all the time I have for you guys in this one. Appreciate all the time that you've given me. Continue to subscribe to that page. A lot of you guys jumping in. I really, really appreciate it. Follow along for the rest of this season with me. Also want you to make sure you're checking out those college basketball videos that Oaks has up now. Another winning night for Oaks on this past Saturday. We're going to get a Monday night video out for you guys on college hoops tomorrow night as well. That'll be up for the Tuesday slate. So appreciate all you guys. Best of luck here until I see you in that video tomorrow. Happy betting.